Let's just start this off with a controversial opinion. War in the East 2 is a good beginner friendly war game. It has a lot of commonalities with Unity of Command 2, Order of Battle, or even Panzer Corps 2. Just because it has a lot of depth doesn't mean it's not beginner friendly. A lot of the things are going to cross over. If you're experienced with Panzer Corps 2, then you'll be able to bring some of those skills over into War in the East too. Granted, if you're completely new to wargaming, it may be a bit much for you to sink your teeth into, but I truly think you're going to do just fine, especially if this game caught your attention. So let's just dive into what War in the East 2 is. War in the East 2 is the most comprehensive, most realistic, and most advanced war game modeling Eastern Front warfare in World War II. So that's just what the developer has to say about it. It comes with 3 full campaigns that are absolutely massive. It has 7 smaller scenarios. It has improved AI and opponent. And overall, I played a lot of War in the East too. It's a lot to learn, but you can basically just smash your hexes or units together. It has historically accurate orders of battle. There's an air war, there's a ground war, there's paratroops, there's rail yards. There's all kinds of stuff for the player to truly like figure out and like really have a good time with. If you can learn basically any war game, you're going to learn War in the East too. It might take more time. It might be disheartening at first. The graphics are actually some of the better hex encounter graphics. I'm not going to lie about that. It does look really good when you compare it to some other war games. Granted, you are just moving little units around on hexes, but beyond that, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. There's like on map air bases. You kind of just approach objectives, and a lot of the battles play out how they were historically supposed to. There is like multiplayer in this game. It's played by email, though. I believe they host tournaments as well. Overall, comes from like a long line. There's a lot of iterations of War in the East. So there's War in the East 2, there's War in the East, and there's War in the West. And Gary Grigsby's been designing games for quite some time. So you're going to get like a relatively good product, which is actually really cool. They actually have a lot of iterations and a lot of development, and they have a lot of passion when making this game. Overall, the detailed orders of battle are like one of the standout units. And let's talk about the manual. The manual is absolutely massive. It's a 520-page manual. Granted, I read the manual. I'm not going to say like a lot of fluff, but it could be extremely streamlined if I'm going to be honest with you. They did export some like beginner friendly PDFs, but every time they try and like streamline the manual, they end up saying too much. So I do think the manual is really good. It's really in depth. You can actually get a hardcover of it if that's something you really wanted to do, and you're just gonna have a good time with it. I really the manual, I mean, all of it is a lot, but if you play war games, you're not gonna be like if you have the time to sit there and play, you're just gonna have a good time. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna fight through all the battles. And I think one thing that's different about wargaming is that a lot of people think you need to win your campaign or your mission on your first playthrough. That's generally not how wargaming works in the grander scheme. It's like learning the movements, playing historically accurate, or just playing how you want to, and trying to figure out how to overwhelm the AI and just win on the battlefield. It does have combined arms offensives. There's artillery. There's mass attacks. There's tanks, just absolutely massive amount of bloodshed in this game. I'm not going to lie to you. The amount of units you're going to be destroying on the battlefield while it just look like squares are in the hundreds of thousands. So that's actually really fun. It's kind of like interesting to see like the casualty rates and all of those things. It's definitely a game that's going to immerse you into into at least the Eastern Front if that's something you have a passion about. Personally, I'm not the biggest Eastern Front fan, but it's something that it's like piqued my interest, and I've found a few nonfiction books where I just want to read about the Eastern Front. But overall, a good simulator, a good beginner one. I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna have fun here. So that's all I'm really gonna say about it. It does have one DLC out. I believe they're working on another one. And if you can master this war game, you can master basically any war game. Welcome to the ultimate Second World War II strategy game, Panzer Corps 2. I believe it's a really, really good game. It's a lot of fun. It really got me into wargaming. You can spend a lot of hours and a lot of time just playing the scenarios, outmaneuvering your opponent, doing combined arms strategies and tactics. It's one of the war games that really got me back into wargaming back in 2020 when I started this YouTube channel. Overall, it is easy to play and extremely deep. I would agree with the developers on that. It's a turn based. There are turn limits. I know that kind of rubs a lot of people the wrong way, but turn limits do not bother me too much. Overall, they do have a nice balance. I really enjoy the combined arms tactics. They're easy unit movement. It's got in-depth gameplay mechanics. There's spotting, so you have recon vehicles. A lot of people love recon and understanding how recon works and spotting units before you are spotted. That's honestly by far one of the hardest strategies to master. Encirclements are all cool. They're in a lot of war games. You can kind of just encircle an enemy and conduct a mass attack with combined arms tactics such as like artillery, anti-tank guns, tanks, and infantry. The turn limit can be a bit restrictive at times, especially if you're not moving at the rate that you need to move. Weather does play a small part in the game, capturing enemy equipment. That's all very true. You're not going to have a bad time playing Panzer Corps 2. It's by far one of the most, at least it's continually developed war games right now. It has a lot of DLCs. They even gone into the future, like a 1946 like alternative timeline, which I thought was really cool with Nazi mega weapons. It wasn't received too well, but you do kind of need some freedom of movement when designing and developing games, especially content. You kind of want to use your imagination without sticking to like hard orders of battle or just consistent overall like World War II, Battle of the Bulge 2. Anyway, there is Panzer Corps Pacific coming soon. A lot of people are waiting on that. That was announced like almost 2 years ago, it seems like. This seems to be like a common trend within wargaming to announce things way, way, way in advance. I also think there's a Strategic Command Pacific coming soon. There's tons of units. There's 1,000 different units and enemies. So overall, it's just World War II at your fingertips. Is what they say. I wouldn't really agree that it's 4X style. It's basically there's some scenarios. There's 60 scenarios. Some additional single player content, and there's actually a lot of multiplayer content if you do play by email. So that's something I've done a few times. It does have a comprehensive editor. I haven't messed around with the editor too much, but there is unlimited replayability within Panzer Corps 2 if that's something you're really looking forward to. It can be addictive at times, but then at some point you start to want more and more and more. And that's not like content wise, you kind of just want something with a bit more depth, a bit more like strategy to it versus like moving your units on the map, trying to get the high ground, shooting down. Understanding where units like are powerful in is something really important too. Whether you have like infantry that like specialize in being up high and in the mountains, all of those things are important. Overall, you're going to truly enjoy this game. Honestly, it's a great beginner friendly. It has a ton of single player content. This is for you, honestly, if you're new to wargaming. It got me into wargaming. Content is king, and Order of Battle World War II does have a massive amount of content. It is actually a free to play game as well. Although each DLC is going to run you around $14.99, there are DLCs that are $9.99, so it's similar to Command Ops 2. It boasts about reinventing the wargaming genre. It takes wargaming to a new level by upgrading every single gaming element and rebooting the genre for a new generation of players. Overall, it plays similar to all wargaming with hexes and units on the battlefield, except the difference is the battles are absolutely massive, as you see in this D-Day battle. I did receive this content for free several years ago, and I finally have a chance to cover Order of Battle World War II. Um, it's fun. There's actually the map editor is a lot of fun to use and like manipulate and create your own battles. The free version of the game gives you access to a unique boot camp campaign as well as a taste of the first chapter of every other campaign pack. This means new free missions will appear as soon as the new campaign is released. So overall, there should be a good amount of free missions for you to play in, kind of sink your teeth into, and just kind of have a good time with. There's 700 unique looking and behaving units. Overall, there's like unique commanders. It does have a unique supply system that directly affects combat efficiency of units. Sorry when I see words over and over again. A rich 3D world. I would agree with a lot of these statements. You do need to kind of make sure the resolution's really good. Um, 20 different specializations that give units a unique feel, including the Bonsai Charge, Bushido Code, and even the Manhattan Project. So there are some cool specializations. I've messed with them a little bit. There's like paratroops, beach landings, combined arms warfare. It's a good game. It's a good, fun game. Launching this D-Day offensive was a joy. It was fun, but I'm not going to lie. There's like so many units on the battlefield. One thing that is a bit strange that always kind of bums me out when it comes to war gaming is traffic management. It's something we need to deal with in the real world, so logistics is important. And so when you kind of need to manage and monitor that traffic, while it is like realistic, it can become a bit tedious. So moving a lot of these ships up, you kind of had to understand what they are, what their capability is, and where to put them on the map, and how to use them within the battle space. Overall, it's a good game. It's turn based. The AI turns are extremely quick. There is like air warfare, so you can drop bombs on all kinds of fortified positions. I mean, overall, I was really enjoying the combined arms doctrine. The only limitation, obviously, is going to be not the supply, but the how scenarios are developed by the scenario editor. And this is something that plagues all wargaming. Is the limitation is always to how well the scenario is designed by the scenario editor. Anyway, so I mean, there is a unique supply system. Intuitive is the word they want to use, allowing for breakthroughs and encirclements. That's actually really interesting. Encirclements are always fun to pull off. Some of the largest encirclements just happen by just cutting off a roadway. Remember, we're like a really developed nation, and let's think of like a few battles or a few conflicts that are going on. Just cutting off a major roadway does kind of prompt an encirclement, right? There's no retreat, no ability to retrograde. How are you going to drive all your BMPs through the woods? It's possible, but if you lose that roadway, you kind of lose the ability to move around, and mobility is really important on the battlefield. Overall, good time. 4-player multiplayer. I've seen people play it as cooperative, which is you're just passing around the PBEM file. Check it out, free to play. I think you'd like it. Now we lay our eyes upon the gateway to wargaming. This is Unity of Command 2. Unity of Command 2 lets you command Western allies during the Second World War. You will manage your army's divisions as well as their supplies and logistics. Supplies and logistics are a major component of Unity of Command 2. It's been developed for an extremely long time. There's a lot of passion in the project. I've received free DLCs for it. Overall, the game costs around $29.99, but it is on sale quite often. It's a sequel to one of the most critically acclaimed strategy games of all time. I have never played Unity of Command 1, and a game critics call the perfect gateway into computer war games. I would agree with that. Unity of Command 2 does serve as a good gateway into war gaming. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know if it's the graphics or how simple the gameplay looks, or just because how cheap it is, or if it's just recommended quite often. But it does seem to be a good gateway into war gaming. Overall, there are better gateway war games. I've said gateway like 9 times now, but Unity Command 2 is one that's going to catch your attention. It's just the graphics stand out, and the price point's actually really good when it's on sale. Plus, all the DLCs, they do cover like North Africa, the Western Front, things along those lines. Overall, it is a turn based game. There are turn limits, and man, some of those turn limits will make you scream. But you do not have to play them unless you buy the DLC. Overall, it is a good game. I would like to see some improvements to the turn limits and some of the difficulty. It is mainly a logistics based game. There is a lot of combat, there's a lot of simple things within the game. Um, it just has a lot of the same gameplay mechanics and commonalities that we've discussed previously, like the ability to like cause a breakthrough, encircle enemies, capture POWs, wear units down. It does say it does have a dynamic campaign. I haven't played through the entire campaign, but I played through a bunch of the DLCs. There's headquarter units, theater assets. Theater assets are just something like naval ships, airstrikes. So overall, just a lot of combined arms tactics and doctrine can take place within this game. Understanding how those theater assets affect the battlefield and affect the units you're striking is really important. Overall, like the aerial recon's something that's really good. I mean, everyone loves recon, the devastating bomber runs, and the ability to sustain units behind enemy lines using air supply assets. Like I said, it's primarily a supply game. There is a lot of combat. It's primarily combat focused, but if your supply lines are bad, then you're going to have a bad time. There is a fog of war aspect. I don't know if you can turn it on and off, but it's just generally, fog of war units are, as you move towards an objective, you'll reveal units. So that's why aerial recon and recon units are important, and understand recon doctrine will definitely help you within Unity of Command too. Deep operations that change the world. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of good operations that are recreated. I'm not quite sure how accurate the orders of battle are, but it's just something that is cool to take a look at. There is a full-fledged allied campaign, and there's a scenario editor as well. Scenario editors are always important. Oh, it does have Steam Workshop support as well. So that's actually really interesting. I'm going to go check that later today, see if I can find some bomb little DLCs to check out. Free content, right? Anyway, a good gateway game. I agree with a lot of that. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Peace. We are out of the trenches of World War II and diving into the American Revolution. This game is not yet available on Steam, but you can buy it from their website. It's Ultimate General American Revolution, where the American colonies battled the British Empire. Overall, it is a sandbox style war game. I would call it more of a 4X style war game. There are tactical battles. You can kind of storm forts with your forces. There's a little bit of combined arms doctrine. There's also naval battles as well. It's a good little war game, honestly. If you're tired of the World War II or you're tired of the Civil War, then it's one of the few war games that does cover the American Revolution. So I do enjoy it. I played it quite a lot on stream. Take on the role of the American colonist. You can actually role play a little bit, create your own general, which is something I was doing for a long time. The campaign is real time. There's still early access though. It might be even early beta, mostly because you can't buy it on Steam yet. There's been a lot of improvements. I believe they finished one of the campaigns and they're working on another one where you can kind of play as the British Empire. It's actually really cool. There's like delayed reporting mechanics. You can field your own armies. You can build an army. You build a fleet. You kind of assign them muskets, things like that. Overall, there's nice little military infrastructure. Like I said, it's primarily like it feels more like a 4X and less like a tactical or operational war game. You're going to lead your troops to battle. You're going to develop regions that provide food, weapons, ammunition, your army for your army and your navy, building military structures to train special recruits and host your army during the harsh winter, build infrastructure to raise supplies, right? It's all about logistics, it's all about fielding armies, it's all about managing those units. You're going to develop headquarters, which means you're just going to hire officers such as like the chief of intelligence, artillery chief, commander in chief, which is you, or in this video, General Doomslayer. All of this is going to allow you to create like a massive force to take on the British Empire, which is a daunting task, by the way. The British Empire is quite challenging. They do outnumber you. They have what seems to be unlimited supplies, troops, and resources. Overall, it's like kind of the battle of the like David and Goliath, not the battle of the Titans. You're kind of taking on this massive empire which is storming your country, and you need to repel them. And it does a good job at that. It simulates great gameplay. As far as like the realism, the battles can be, I'm going to like sound a bit critical right now, but they do feel a little grindy to me. Storming the forts was a bit interesting. There's a lot of fort combat where you need to do combined arms attack, and there's different types of units such as like skirmishers and then your normal line infantry. Then you have your conscripts, followed by your artillery units, along with your cavalry. Overall, there is like a lot of varied combat, different types of combat, different strategies you can employ to see if they work, and different doctrines. The naval combat is quite fun as well at times. Overall, I haven't dived into the naval combat too much at all, so I can't comment too much on it. The small battles are a lot of fun. One thing that is a bit interesting, and I hope they fix, is sometimes when you would route a unit, it would route behind enemy lines and capture one of your forts, forcing you to pause your assault and kind of retrograde back to a different position and reassault kind of your own territory. And then when you lose that fort, you lose a lot of resources. So it was something that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way at one time. Realistic reconnaissance is simulated, so making messages, military intelligence, battle maneuvering, all of that can cause a bit of a delay. Overall, the game does have quite the good opener. You're kind of just overwhelm the British as they come onto the battlefield. You can recapture Boston, things along those lines. It is one of the better war games on the market right now. It's one of the better looking war games. And if you enjoyed this list, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it, share the video, share the video. That truly helps out the channel. YouTube wants people to come to it, not us go to them. So, like, comment, subscribe, and enjoy this gripping real-time campaign. All right, peace.